You know that feeling when you're in a place that just feels wrong. Maybe it's a school hallway long after the bell is rung, or an empty office building lit only by the harsh, flickering glare of fluorescent lights. There's this silence that isn't quite silent, right? A low hum that seems to vibrate right into your teeth. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to completely dissect the internet's most famous modern myth. We are going to fully gut the legend of the backrooms. We'll break down the anatomy of this digital nightmare that consumed millions, analyze the deep psychology behind it, explore the massive cinematic universe at birth, and finally, we'll reveal the aggressively mundane real-world truth hiding behind the scariest place on the internet. So let's dive right in.
Picture this. It's May 12th, 2019. An anonymous user on 4chan's paranormal board posts a single, deeply unsettling image of an empty, yellow-tinted room. It might have just disappeared into the void of the internet, but the very next day, another user replied, and their comment basically set the foundation for a whole new genre of digital horror. They wrote, "If you are not careful and you noclip out of reality in the wrong areas, you will end up in the backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum humbuzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in." And just like that, a massive collaborative mythology was born. They took noclipping, that video game term for glitching through the physical boundaries of a map, and applied it to real life. How terrifying is that? Seriously, I want you to think about that feeling for a second. Have you ever felt a deep, twisting sense of dread while just standing in a perfectly empty building? It's a very specific, universal kind of unease. You aren't afraid of a monster jumping out of a closet. You're afraid of the space itself. The Backrooms absolutely nails this feeling. It completely bypasses all those traditional horror tropes like ghosts, vampires, or zombies, and instead it taps into this environmental anxiety that almost all of us have experienced at some point in our modern lives. But why exactly does a simple empty room scare us so much?
Well, what's really interesting here is that we actually have a specific vocabulary to describe this exact sensation, kenopsia. It's a term coined in the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, and it's defined as the eerie, forlorn atmosphere of a place that is usually bustling with people but is now totally abandoned and quiet. Think of a dead shopping mall at midnight, or a vacant hotel lobby. The backroom is essentially the ultimate manifestation of a liminal space, a transitional zone that's only meant to take you from point A to point B, like a waiting room or a long hallway. When you remove human beings from these spaces, they become hyper-empty. They're haunted by the sheer absence of human interaction, and honestly, our brains just do not know how to process that cognitive dissonance.
Now, if we look at the academic side of this terror, we find that the backrooms functions less like your standard ghost story and much more like a psychoanalytic nightmare. According to academic research diving into this digital lore, the backrooms actually operates on Freudian concepts of dream work. Sigmund Freud talked a lot about the idea of the uncanny, something that feels simultaneously familiar yet deeply, deeply strange. In the backrooms, your everyday, boring surroundings, like standard office corridors, are completely stripped of their normal function and charged with this weird menace. It relies on psychological mechanisms like condensation, where different environments sort of blend together just like they do in a dream, and displacement, where all our repressed anxieties redirected toward our own embodied presence in a totally depopulated space. The environment itself becomes a literal manifestation of existential dread.
And this psychoanalytic nightmare actually builds into a fascinating philosophical concept. You can completely understand the backrooms through Jean Baudrillard's theory of simulacra. Baudrillard basically argued that in our modern world, we're constantly surrounded by copies of things that either had no original or just don't have an original anymore. The truly terrifying thing about the backrooms is that it's a fabricated, hyper-real memory. It's this bizarre collage of the textures, the colors, and the layouts of 1990s office culture. It hits you with a profound sense of aesthetic déjà vu. You feel in your bones like you've been there, but you haven't. Because it's not a real office, it's the idea of an office, just endlessly looping. It perfectly captures the absolute essence of postmodern disorientation.
To really understand how unique this is, let's put it into perspective by comparing the backrooms to older digital horror, like the famous username 666 YouTube creepypasta. Older internet horror leaned heavily on sudden visual glitches, rapid escalation, and super loud demonic jump scares. But the backrooms? It uses a slow, agonizing ambient buildup. Using Sylvan Tompkins' effect theory, researchers point out that the backrooms create sustained bodily discomfort. It's built entirely on a foundation of negative affect, fear, distress, disgust, and it drives this home through subtle sensory irritants. We're talking about the low hum of machinery, the distant drip of water, the flickering, maddening buzz of fluorescent lights. It's not about the quick shock of a jump scare, it's about the agonizing endurance of spatial tension. It is pure nightmare fuel.
Now, as this lore exploded across Reddit and various wikis, the internet community engaged in something folklorists actually call reverse ostension. Instead of just passing down a finished, completed story, thousands of anonymous users teamed up to collaboratively build the mythos, piece by piece. The Backrooms rapidly expanded from just one yellow room into an infinite, multi-layered dimension. That original space we all know became Level 0, the lobby. From there, people invented thousands of levels, like Level 1, the habitable zone, or the incredibly popular pool rooms, which are just endless, echoing aquatic tiles. And of course, the internet couldn't just leave it empty. They introduced entities, shadowy, terrifying monsters that you rarely get a full look at. Things like smilers lurking in the pitch-black corners, or facelings and hounds. Suddenly, the creepy loneliness was replaced by the absolutely terrifying realization that you might not actually be alone in there.
But the true explosion of this mythos, the moment it really crashed into mainstream culture, happened in January 2022. Enter a 16-year-old creator named Kane Parsons, better known online as Kane Pixels. He uploaded a video titled "The Backrooms Found Footage." Using 3D software like Blender and Adobe After Effects, this teenager single-handedly brought the nightmare into staggering reality. His video follows a cameraman in 1991 who literally falls through the floor and ends up trapped in the yellow labyrinth, eventually getting chased down by a screeching, horrific entity. That video went massively viral, racking up tens of millions of views, and it completely redefined the entire aesthetic of analog horror overnight.
And Kane Parsons didn't just animate a scary room. He evolved the whole story into a sprawling, complex, cinematic universe. He nailed this simulated 1990s VHS aesthetic, complete with super realistic camera glitches and awful, authentic-looking lighting. He also introduced a very specific hostile entity that fans call the bacteria life form, this screeching, terrifying wireframe made of mutated matter. But maybe most importantly, he created the Async Research Institute, a fictional, shadowy organization that accidentally opened a portal to the Backrooms back in the 1980s. His world building was so polished, so incredibly compelling, that Hollywood actually came knocking. Parsons was tapped to direct a major feature film adaptation of his series, produced by the absolute powerhouse studio A24. Not bad for a 16-year-old, right?
Naturally, this massive wave of popularity bled right over into video games. The Backrooms became the ultimate sandbox for indie developers looking to create glitch horror and intense survival experiences. And these games are brilliant because they adapt the legend by prioritizing navigation and pure endurance way over traditional combat. When you boot up a Backrooms game, audio is basically your only compass. You are forced to listen so closely to the hums of those fluorescent lights or the distant echo of footsteps just to figure out if a hallway is safe. And instead of clunky, intrusive video game menus, these games use diegetic interfaces. This means you're literally managing the actual battery life of a heavy VHS camcorder or a flickering flashlight in your hands. It's a masterclass in interactive tension, translating the terror of liminal spaces directly to your controller.
Okay, let's just take a breath for a second. We talked a lot about the psychological terror, the cosmic dread, the multi-million-dollar film adaptations, and the infinite labyrinth of madness. But what if I told you that the actual origin of this infinite dimension of cosmic terror was literally just located in Wisconsin? Yeah. It's time to snap right back to reality and completely dissect this legend. We are going to debunk the myth right now.
For over a decade, the origin of that single, terrifying yellow photograph was easily one of the internet's greatest mysteries. Nobody knew where it came from. But in 2024, a dedicated, obsessive group of internet sleuths finally cracked the case. And the real-world journey of this photo is just bizarre. First off, it wasn't beamed in from a cursed dimension. It was taken way back in 2002. In 2003, it was casually uploaded to a blog. It just sat there, totally dormant, for 16 years, until someone posted it anonymously on 4chan in 2019, kicking off the whole creepypasta. It took until the spring of 2024 for researchers, using crazy advanced searches on the Wayback Machine and digging through archives of dead links, to finally pinpoint the exact, real-world location where that flash went off.
And the reality? It is aggressively, hilariously mundane. The scariest place on the internet is actually just the second floor of a store called Hobbytown located in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Specifically, it was an area they called the East Oval Room. Sometime in late 2002 or early 2003, the building suffered some water damage, which meant they had to tear out the walls, the wallpaper, and all the materials for renovations. On May 3, 2003, the store owners posted a little update to their blog documenting the remodel, and they included 2 pictures of the empty, yellow-walled, water-damaged room. One of those pictures, completely stripped of its context, would go on to haunt millions and millions of people.
The juxtaposition here is honestly just incredible. On one side, we have the myth, 600 million square miles of infinite hostile geometry, terrifying entities and pure psychological madness, a cosmic trap that literally breaks the laws of physics. And on the other side, we have the reality, the second floor of a Wisconsin hobby shop getting its damp wallpaper removed so the owners could build an indoor racetrack for remote-controlled cars. Think about that. By the time the image was even posted online and went viral, the room had already been completely destroyed and remodeled. The real Backrooms ceased to exist 20 years before Kane Pixels even booted up his editing software. Which brings us to our final takeaway for this explainer. If the scariest place on the internet, a place that inspired deep academic psychoanalysis, countless video games, and a major Hollywood movie, was literally just a water-damaged hobby shop in Wisconsin, what does that actually say about the fears hiding in our own minds? The true horror, it turns out, was never the room itself. The room was just a blank canvas. The real terror was what our isolated modern minds projected into that empty space. We took a boring picture of a floor renovation and we filled it to the brim with our deepest anxieties about isolation, endless repetition, and the complete breakdown of reality. And honestly, that is far more fascinating than any monster hiding in the dark. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. And hey, remember, keep a very close eye on the walls around you.